Coming up this hour, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton has asked a judge to jail former U.S. Rep. Beto O'Rourke. We'll discuss why, in addition to more of today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. We'll also learn about an effort right here in Houston to prevent drilling in the Arctic.
Plus, we'll also talk to the head coach of the Lamar Little League team who will represent the state of Texas tonight as they compete in the annual Little League World Series.
And Ernie and I want to hear your thoughts, your questions, and concerns. Give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. White House officials say people living on the streets in Washington, D.C. may go to jail if they don't agree to go to shelters. NPR's Brian Mann reports this type of pressure from the administration is concerning advocates for people without housing.
With National Guard troops now deployed on the streets of the nation's capital, White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt said part of the public safety push means people living on the street have to go to shelters or accept treatment for mental illness and addiction.
And if they refuse, they will be susceptible to fines or to jail time.
But critics say that's not a solution for people who are severely ill or can't afford the city's high housing costs. Jesse Rabinowitz is with the National Homelessness Law Center.
There are very few beds available. There are a handful of shelter beds available in far-flung parts of the city.
According to Leavitt, dozens of homeless camps here have already been cleared out. Brian Mann, NPR News, Washington.
The president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, is meeting with European leaders ahead of the U.S.-Russia summit Friday, to which he was not invited. Speaking through an interpreter, Zelensky says he and his German host, Chancellor Friedrich Merz, talked today about what they hope will be the top priority at the U.S.-Russia summit in Alaska.
We hope that the central topic will be the ceasefire, immediate ceasefire.
President Trump has described his upcoming summit with Russian leader Vladimir Putin as a chance to assess the prospects of a negotiated truce in Russia's war with Ukraine. The face-to-face to be held in Alaska would be the first for them since 2019. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance is in the U.K., where he says one of the top priorities for the U.S. and its ally is to end the Russia-Ukraine war.
The President of the United States came in 6 months ago, and I just talked to him right before I came on the stage, and he said very simply that we are going to make it our mission as an administration to bring peace to Europe once again.
Vance speaking during a visit with U.S. service members stationed in Britain. Parts of Tennessee remain under a flood alert a day after emergency personnel rescued people from their homes and cars caught in high waters. Hamilton County authorities say heavy amounts of rain saturated the ground in a suburb of Chattanooga yesterday. 3 people died. Hopes for a drop in interest rates are fueling a rally on Wall Street. NPR's Scott Horsley has more.
Despite a jump in core inflation last month, investors are betting the Federal Reserve will cut its benchmark interest rate in September. GE Appliances plans to build more refrigerators, stoves, and water heaters in the U.S. The company says it's shifting some production out of Mexico and China and investing more than $3 billion in domestic factories. The Treasury Department says it collected $28 billion in tariff revenue last month, a nearly four-fold increase from July of last year. The government's still running a big deficit, however, and this week the accumulated federal debt topped $37 trillion. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. More than a year after Hurricane Beryl left more than 2 million homes and businesses without power, Harris County residents still have an overwhelmingly negative opinion of CenterPoint Energy. That's according to a new survey from the University of Houston's Hobby School of Public Affairs. News 88.7's Kyle McClinigan has more.
According to the survey published Tuesday, 63% of Harris County residents have an unfavorable opinion of CenterPoint, with 33% having a favorable opinion. In June, CenterPoint reached a $3.2 billion settlement with several Houston area municipalities to strengthen the area's electrical grid. The survey asked residents about their perception of CenterPoint's progress. Only 7% believe CenterPoint had made a great deal of progress. 26% said the company had made none at all. The survey also finds that the vast majority of Harris County residents are worried about flooding, high wind damage, and losing power again during the summer storm season. I'm Kyle McClinigan, News 88.7.
Houston city officials broke ground Tuesday on a more than $20 million public safety facility in North Houston. Located near the crossroads of Beltway 8 and I-45, the project includes a new police substation connected to a fire station. Houston Police Chief Noe Diaz says the expansion will also bring an additional 5 patrol officers to the area.
It's a growing part of the city, so we're committed to building a safer future for this community.
HPD says the patrol officers will arrive in the next few months, while construction is expected to take about a year and a half. A tropical disturbance could soon enter the Gulf. The National Hurricane Center is currently tracking a tropical wave in the northwestern part of the Caribbean. It still must cross over land before entering the Gulf later this week. Forecasters give it a 20% chance of developing into something stronger. It's still too early to know the potential impact it could have on Texas. Right now it's 86 degrees on the University of Houston campus, mostly sunny today with a high of 97. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from Made In, makers of cookware found in restaurants around the world, offering a carbon steel non-stick griddle for home use, designed for use indoors or outdoors on a grill or over an open flame. More at madeincookware.com.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
A beep beep. What we're talking about here, as you caught us in the real world, is which of us has something turned on so that we don't disturb the show today. Hi, I'm Ernie.
Hi, and I'm Celeste Diaz-Sherman. Welcome to Hello Houston. It is August 13th, second day of first week of school at HISD.
Is that how you count things now as a parent?
That's how I count things down to the next vacay.
Frank Billingsley is taking a much-deserved vacation, so he'll be back next week.
Yeah.
So don't worry too much. He's coming back.
Also next week, we're going to have Superintendent Miles on Monday joining us to talk about kind of what parents can expect throughout the school year. And also if you have questions or comments that you would like to send in, you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
A lot going on. We did a lot on back to school yesterday on the show. And so now it's like going right to the direct source of it. We can get Mike Miles' opinion, thoughts, and your questions and comments. And we're always inviting those. So if you want to start sending in questions for that, you can do it at talk@hellohouston.org. Did you just say that?
Yes, but that's okay. You can also call us at 713-440-8870. And there is a lot to talk about. It feels like every single day there's just something new.
Yeah, we've got a lot to cover on today's show. We're going to be taking a look at efforts in Houston to prevent drilling in the Arctic. We're going to be talking to the Lamar Little League team's coach.
So exciting.
They're working their way through the World Series.
It starts tonight. Yeah, tonight is the first game of the Little League World Series.
It's so cool. We're also going to have Kam Franklin in. You may know her as the lead singer from the Suffers, but she's going solo album. We'll be talking to her about that. And we'll wrap it all up talking about world-class meats. The exotic, the interesting, the tasty. We'll be looking at that too. All that's coming up on the show today, so stay tuned. We don't want you to miss a thing, and we try not to miss a thing. And that's why you start us off each day with the headlines.
That's right. Thank you, Ernie. Tension continues to build as Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton on Tuesday asked a Tarrant County judge to jail former U.S. Representative Beto O'Rourke, in another escalation in Republicans' broader effort to put an end to the Texas Democrats' walkout over a new congressional map. Paxton sued O'Rourke and his political group, Powered by the People, last week, arguing that the group was deceptively fundraising and illegally supporting the Texas Democratic legislators who fled the state. Tarrant County District Judge Megan Fahey quickly granted Paxton's request to temporarily block O'Rourke and Powered by the People from fundraising for Democratic legislators or spending money to cover any of their expenses. On Tuesday, Paxton claimed that O'Rourke had violated that temporary injunction at a Fort Worth rally that was held on Saturday when he told the crowd, "There are no refs in this game. F the rules," but he did not use the F. He used the word. Paxton's motion asked the judge to imprison O'Rourke for the duration of the lawsuit and to fine the Democratic legislators $500 for each violation of the injunction. Now is the time to join the conversation. Is Beto O'Rourke in the wrong? And should the Attorney General be calling for O'Rourke's imprisonment? What are your thoughts? 713-440-8870.
It's a very interesting conundrum we find ourselves in with these lawsuits. Yes. From a legal point of view, now again, just like I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer either, but my understanding of it is the crime that could have been committed is if you're raising funds and then using it in essence as a bribe. You do this for us, we'll give you this money. It flips when it's you're already doing this practice and somebody raises money to aid you in something you are doing. So what I hear from lawyers is this: what Ken Paxton is charging him with is not valid. But it seems today's day and age, it doesn't matter if it's valid or not. It's about bringing attention to the fact. It's about threats. It's about finding if you have the right court, just like moving around lines for districts so you can get the voters you want to vote in a certain way. It seems like we're playing this game with our courts too, trying to find the right judges who are going to decide in your favor. So it's very fascinating because you can't just count anymore on what we understood the law to be. It depends on the new interpretation. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this.
Yes, and it's also very interesting to me, the words that we're seeing more and more commonly used. Like, you're saying bribery, and understanding the nuance and the legality of words like bribery, and then imprisonment. The Attorney General calling for the imprisonment of a former U.S. representative.
A political rival
in some ways.
In
some ways. And so it seems like the boundary of verbiage that we use, maybe boundary is not the word, but we keep pushing that boundary of words, and it's when do people hit their breaking point?
Right. To further dig into this too, the problem that supposedly happened on Saturday is, so first there's an injunction saying they cannot use the money that Power for the People have raised for the Democrats that are out of state. They cannot use that money for that. So they froze them from doing that. Theoretically, then what happened was Beto went out on Saturday and continued to fundraise for that after being told he could not by the judge. So then that shifts the focus of it from the political argument to the upholding what the judge ruled. And so is he breaking a court order? Even if you don't agree with the court order, we're supposed to respect those until they are resolved. Did he actually do that, or was he continuing to raise money with no definitive explanation of how it was being used?
Right. And I think the next question is, if you were watching the rally and if you were there, would you say he was raising money? Was he really fundraising for the Democratic legislators who had fled the state? Or was he passionate and just saying, we don't have rules anymore? So it's very nuanced. It's very complex. As a journalist, we are constantly looking at these facts. I bet our lawyer friends are quite tired themselves.
If you're listening right now and you were either watching or actually attended this rally, or your opinion on it, please give us a call. I'd love to know what you think. 713-440-8870. You can also text us at that same number, 713-440-8870, or send us an email, talk@hellohouston.org. Also, folks are chiming in already on YouTube. So if you go to the YouTube channel, there's a chat there. We're monitoring that as well. I just gave the phone numbers, and Ian used one of those phone numbers because he's on the line right now from West Houston. Ian, what's on your mind today?
Hi. I was just very recently, the Supreme Court decided that bribes are okay so long as they are classified as gratuities. That's why justices have allowed themselves to be gifted lavish vacations on private yachts, even from clients who have business before the court. So I don't see what the problem is with helping to pay for basic living expenses when our own justices don't really care.
Thank you for your comments, Ian. It's interesting, and we were seeing a lot of that where it depends on which side of the aisle what behavior is happening and how it's reacted to. I don't know if that's particularly new to this time we're in, but it definitely seems to be much more focused. And you see things like, I don't know, $1 billion plane being given as a gift, and that is seen as just a gift that's okay to receive. And we're, on the other hand, giving living expenses to people that are fighting for your democratic right from the way they see it is suddenly a bribe. So it's interesting how it comes out. And that's why it's in the courts to decide. We have some comments on the YouTube.
Yes, we do have a couple comments.
On the YouTube.
On the YouTube. The YouTubes. Where is the quid pro quo from Cosme Garcia? Yeah. And we also have...
And that goes to the bribery charge. And that bribery is quid pro quo. You give something to get something in return if they are just giving the money to help aid in their housing. So it's a very good point, Cosme.
And we also have a call from Suha from Richmond. Suha, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Hi, good afternoon. My comment is I, as a resident of Texas, am beyond frustrated with our politicians. And today they're spending our money, our tax money, for funding these lawsuits. You know, some of them may be valid and others I just think are people behaving immaturely and using our tax dollars for things that shouldn't be used for. I'd much rather to see my money going towards education, food, housing, the unhoused, health care, better service, better use of our tax dollars.
Suha, quick question before I let you go. When it comes to the next time you're at the polls and you're going to vote, will you be remembering all of this, or will we have moved on and you'll just be looking at what the candidates stand for in the moment?
No, I mean, I think it's time that Democrat Republicans grow up and behave as responsible adults that they've asked us to vote for. I'm tired of this immaturity.
Thank you for those comments, Suha. And I think a lot of people are feeling the same way she is feeling. And it's interesting when you talk about the way we are interpreting these things, and that we need to keep a mind open and say it's not Democrat or Republican. It's our system. And we need to look at the system, and we need system reform or system certainty in some ways, that what we decide is right or wrong no matter who does it.
Right. And it's a good reminder that every single person that we are looking at and trying to hold to a certain standard and accountability are elected officials. All of these people are voted in. And who are they voted in by? They're voted in by us. They're voted in by you. So if you want to have a change, or you think things are right where they need to be, vote. That is, I think, that's my soapbox for today. Go vote.
Get up there and vote. We want to hear your thoughts. We're going to continue this conversation. We are not done with it yet, but we're going to move on. But if you have comments, thoughts, or you want to chime in on it, 713-440-8870. Okay, we're going to move on to one of my biggest nightmares from childhood, and it's back again. Here we go. The presidential fitness test will return to school gyms nationwide after Trump signed an executive order to revive it. And my heart sank a little for all those
little Ernies out there.
I was going to be much harsher in how I described myself. Thank you. For all those little Ernies who dreaded and moved to the back of the line hoping class would end before I had to climb a rope or do the push-ups or, God forbid, have to run. It was humiliating. I mean, I'm older in life. At a point, I got into working out, going to the gym, using a treadmill. I was a cyclist for a while. It comes to us, but to be humiliated in front of your fellow students, I hated it. The test, which was traditionally conducted once or twice a year for students 10 to 17, included drills like push-ups and the back and forth pacer running test. Yes. Oh, my God.
The mile run.
Not even a mile.
mile.
Oh, my God. I remember doing the one length of the loop at our track, which was only 1/20th or 1/5 of a mile. Oh, my God. A nightmare. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, yes, I know health and fitness is important and we have to have a way to gauge it and make sure our kids. but the public humiliation that came along with it, you know.
Hopefully. So I can tell Ernie has a little PTSD talking about this. But, two things. One, I hope that, I think it's great. I think we need to be encouraging, and some people might say this is not encouraging. We need to have measurements and show kids like, hey, push yourself physically. You can do it. Nowadays, with so much technology, we're sitting, and this is a great way to put kids out there and encourage them to move their bodies. I also hope that our PE teachers, our physical education teachers, and the people that are out there, the adults, are much more compassionate. I think we understand a lot more now how to be sensitive and encouraging and not alienating.
Yes.
And
we had no such thing as body positivity back then. No, we shamed.
And of course, right.
and I was shamed.
And that's what I hope. It's more of a positive thing and not turned into a negative thing. And the other part of it is I think it's great, and every elected official should have to take it as well.
The Truth comments on our YouTube, make kids run. I hated it at the time, but it also made me realize how out of shape I was. Hey, The Truth, I knew how out of shape I was. I didn't need to. The test was discontinuing following criticism of the negative impact on mental health, as many students felt humiliated in front of their peers. This is just vindicating me. Critics also questioned its effectiveness, arguing that its one-size-fits-all approach wasn't conducive to individual progress towards a healthier lifestyle. So they say. I'm kind of torn. I think it's one of those things, it's good for you, but not for me. Like, I think all of you kids should be made to do it because I didn't. Let me know. Were you scarred by this? Do you think it's a good idea? Give us a call, 713-440-8870. I want to go back to something we were chatting about a little earlier, and Celeste brought up the point that people need to vote.
Yeah.
I want to remind everyone that the registration date for voting in this upcoming election for November 4th is October 6th, just a little over a month and a half away. So make sure, if you have not registered yet, get registered. You can go online and check it out. You can go to the Secretary of State's website to find out all the information about voting. It's votetexas.gov.
Yep.
So make sure you are registered. Some people lapse and don't realize it. And when it's an important election, no matter where you vote, no matter what side of the aisle you are on, vote.
Yes.
That's where our voices matter. So
right. And as we continue to watch, our elected officials in office making decisions, moving policy forward, you have that voice, and to vote the people in that you believe are going to represent you in Austin and represent you in D.C. and even here. So again,
your British computer guy is chiming in on the presidential fitness test, saying, I think it's a great idea. There is so much obesity in the country. Kids spend way too much time in front of their gaming consoles.
Yeah.
You know what? I got a Wii. Because I was like, well, I'll get a Wii, then I can play video games and I'll move around and I'll be more active. And I've got the goggles, whatever they're called.
The virtual reality.
Yeah. And I was going to get up and do a lot of stuff. I went for a walk through Lincoln Park in Chicago in my living room. And then I set them on the charger, and they're still charging. So when I get back to them,
supercharged.
They will be ready.
Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because I have some friends that last year were very upset because a couple of teachers for recess, instead of doing detention or something, they would make the kids run laps. And I had some friends that were upset, and they were saying that is absolutely not. The kids should be able to play. And yes, I actually think during recess, kids should just be allowed to play. But it's one of those things where I do think our kids can use a little physical, push yourself. You
so
can
let
do
us
it.
know, 713-440-8870. But it's very funny because now I'm moving on to some tidbits. And the one I'm about to tell you about flies right in the face of the presidential fitness test. It is fans of Taco Bell's iconic Mountain Dew Baja Blast. They got something to be excited about. There's a brand new flavor. It's the first time in 20 years that the fast food chain is adding a new permanent flavor to the mix. What is it? It is the new Mountain Dew Baja Midnight.
Interesting. What does midnight taste like?
Well, I went and I looked that up to find out. And you know what it tastes like? It's going to taste like passion fruit with tropical lime. None of that urban lime, but tropical lime. And here's an interesting fact about it. The Mountain Dew Baja Blast is teal in color. The new Midnight is going to be purple in color. Those are the original colors of Taco Bell.
Oh,
there you
did
go.
Not
Something
know that.
Food for thought. No
All
pun
I
intended.
know is anytime I ever go to Taco Bell, and I gotta say, I know we're talking about presidential fitness test and health. Sometimes I do like to go every blue moon, right? And
A Baja Blue Moon?
A Baja Blue Moon. I like to go, and I always say I'll just have a Sprite, and they're always like, we have Sierra Mist. So
Interesting.
that always, yeah.
I'm going to give you one more food tidbit.
Yep.
Besides the fact that today is National Prosecco Day, which really isn't food, but
no,
you would consume it like food. Pico's, a longtime favorite Mexican restaurant in the Inner Loop, is closing after 44 years.
Really?
Yeah, we're sorry to see them go, and it's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. But
Upbeat note, then I'll let you get out of all this.
Yes.
The upbeat note, Taylor Swift's got a new album coming out, 12th album, and it's going to be called Life of a Showgirl. Does that mean anything to you?
Nothing.
Nothing to me either.
Coming up on Hello Houston, we will talk with Kristen Moreland, the executive director of the Gwich'in Steering Committee, about an effort right here in Houston to prevent drilling in the Arctic. This is News 88.7.
Hello, I'm Josh Adams, General Manager of Houston Public Media. This station just lost $2.2 million in federal support annually. To keep our station strong, we've launched the Resiliency Fund, powered by community members just like you. Your support will help bridge the funding gap and ensure these programs remain free and accessible to everyone. If public media and this station matter to you, now is the time to act. Support the Resiliency Fund today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
You can hear that tonight at 7 o'clock.
It's one thing to love public radio, but it's a special thing to support it. Consider this. If you've got a car you don't need anymore, or you've got one that's simply too expensive to repair, you can arrange to donate it to Houston Public Media. We take any kind of vehicle in any condition. It's easy for you, pickup is free, and it could be worth hundreds of dollars in support. Visit houstonpublicmedia.org/cars to learn more. And thanks.
Broadly speaking, our country is made up of elitists and populists who often don't see eye to eye.
Some are saying we got to put our faith in the experts, and others are saying don't trust the experts.
The two sides of modern governing and the question of who actually protects democracy, the politicians or the people. That's next time on Think.
Think. It's on tonight at 10 on News 88.7.
Support comes from Artec House with Rolling Stone Presents Amplified, the immersive rock experience, highlighting the history of rock and roll and featuring over 300 artists whose music changed the world. Tickets at artechhouse.com. Support comes from Houston Theater Week, a citywide celebration of live performances. Participating organizations include theater, dance, and music presenters. Returning August 18th through 24th. Tickets at houstontheaterweek.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Celeste Diaz-Sherman and Ernie Manous.
Today we turn our attention to thousands of miles north to the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. It's one of the most pristine and ecologically rich landscapes in North America, home to caribou, polar bears, and millions of migratory birds. But it's also at the center of a decades-long tug-of-war between conservation and oil drilling. Now the battle to protect this land is taking root in a perhaps unexpected place, right here in Houston, the heart of the oil and gas industry. And joining us is Kristen Moreland, the executive director of the Gwich'in Steering Committee, part of a growing coalition working to convince oil companies to walk away from drilling in the sacred place the Gwich'in people call the place where life begins. Kristen, good morning and welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you very much, Masicho, for having me. My name is Kristen Moreland, and I am a Gwich'in from Alaska.
Excellent. And if you have a question or a comment for Kristen, you can join the conversation at 713-440-8870. So, Kristen, let's start before we get into the connection to Houston. It seems like there's been, from a federal level, between the Biden administration, from President Biden allowing leases and then I believe canceling leases, and then now the Trump administration, there's been a lot of back and forth regarding this land. One, can you give us some background on the Arctic Wildlife National Refuge? And then also, how much acreage are we looking at?
So right now there is 6 leases open from Mr. Trump.
Yeah, President Trump.
Yep. And on each of those leases is 400,000 acres.
Oh, wow.
So that's over 1 million acres of our land that is in jeopardy right now. A little background about the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. It is sacred land to us. We call it Gwich'in Gudlit, which means the sacred place where life begins. And the only reason why we say that is because our porcupine caribou herd, all of our animals goes up there to birth their young ones. And the porcupine caribou herd is the healthiest herd in North America right now. And we want to keep it that way. They go up there to have their young ones to keep away from any danger, any threats that comes near them. Especially our mosquitoes are so bad right now, and it could kill their young ones. So they go up there where it's really windy and have their young ones. And then they migrate in a same pattern for years, for thousands of years.
You talk about the ecological connection, but talk to me a little bit about the spiritual connection between your people and that land.
Yes, our people rely heavily on our land and our animals. 80% of our diet consists of our animals up there. We can't just go to the store and buy food like down here. Our freight, everything, it just costs so much more up there in Arctic. So I'm saying up there, which is Arctic Village, where I lived for years. In that place is on the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. But we have everything flown up there from any kind of foods that you guys get down here. But of course, when we get it, it's not as fresh. So we don't get fresh foods up there.
So the land sustains the community up there.
Yes.
But also the rich connection between the history of that land and the beliefs in your people and the connection to the land, how important that is to keep it vibrant.
Yeah. Our land up there, we don't have any pollution. We do not have anything that bothers our wildlife. That it's like when you go to Arctic Village, you step off the plane, you could just see the massive beauty around you, the pristine beauty. You could automatically just see a glacier and just pristine beauty. It's just indescribable. You have to be there to live it. But when I go up there to ground myself, just to get away from the city, because I live in the city right now, Fairbanks, Alaska. So I go up there to ground myself. As soon as I get off the plane, I feel just spiritually connected, because our ancestors roamed that land for years, for thousands of years, and they have markings on there. They have they just have lived there and without anything, no running water or anything.
Sacred.
Yeah.
Sacred ground to you and your community.
Yes.
Celeste pointed out the acreage, and you gave us the acreage of how much these 6 leases are. How much in totality, though, is the area we're talking about that this makes up?
I wish I had a map. It's a lot, because that's where our caribou goes. So it's just a lot. They did seismic testing in 1980, in 1980s, I don't know, but you could still see the scars from that land. I mean, from that thumper trucks and whatever else they do.
Did they pick these 6 tracks looking at migratory patterns and all of that about animals, or did they just go in and take it because they think there's oil there without any concern?
Well, they did seismic testing in the 1980s. Yes,
testing. Mm-hmm.
So that's why
that's why that
targeting.
Was there. And from what I understand, what I was reading, this spans about nearly 20 million acres that we are talking about, which would be the. Sorry, I'm finding my notes as we speak. Anyways, I do want to move toward the drilling that you're talking about. And you mentioned how there had been multiple leases with oil and gas companies. And just recently, from what I understand, in March of 2025, a federal judge ruled that the Biden administration lacked the authority to cancel 7 of the leases of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. And that's the word I was looking for, National Wildlife Refuge. So pretty much the future of these lands remain to what's going on. There's still a debate about the legal challenges at a federal level. What can you tell us about what you're doing here in Houston and why Houstonians should want to know about what's happening in Alaska?
So we are here to raise awareness for the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge and how it connects to our Gwich'in people. We know Houston is a energy capital, and energy decisions are made here and across the country, and that will directly impact our indigenous peoples, our wildlife, and the climate, and that can affect everyone here as well.
Mm-hmm. And we did have a YouTube question that wants to know who is drilling on these leases. Seems like a high-risk area for businesses to operate, not knowing the long-term political view on drilling in the area.
Yes. So we had a lease that was open in January, and there were no bids. So no oil and gas companies as of right now do not want to touch the lands. There's no infrastructure. There is no road system. We have to fly everything to our villages. There's like no roads at all. Mm-hmm. So they would have to develop and spend millions of dollars
to even get there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. What has been your reception here when you talk to the oil and gas companies about this? Are they inviting you in and hearing what you have to say, or is it kind of the opposite?
We haven't got an invite yet. We've been emailing. Mm-hmm. But
if they were listening now, what would you want to be telling them that maybe they could hear more of if they sent you an invite?
Mm-hmm. I would like to say to the oil industry here that, first of all, Masicho for not bidding on the leases, mm-hmm. and I would hope that you would continue to do not bid on them. There's no money there to be made, and it's not just an environmental issue. It's about human rights, food security, and protecting one of the last truly wild places on Earth.
We do get a question from my British computer guy. He likes to join us on these. Doesn't this bring jobs to the area, though? Would it be good economically for the people, if maybe not ultimately for the companies?
Of course it's going to bring jobs to people, but our land is already in climate crisis right now. There's already drilling in the Arctic, the Western Arctic. So why not just stay there and, mm-hmm. not touch our land that is untouched right now?
Mm-hmm. And so when you are looking at this, we understand, there is a lot of new policy being put in place. And as we look, will from a federal level, and you're looking at your land, do you know if the Big Beautiful Bill will affect you all at all as I believe, President Trump is opening the land?
Yes, it will affect us tremendously. And speaking of policy development or anything that has to do with our land and our way of life, we just ask that you sit us at a table and help, let us be there. Let us voice everything in
mm-hmm.
of our
As I understand
way.
Gwich'in, though, the Gwich'in Nation does have folks who go to Washington, D.C., meet with elected officials, is the reception there any different? Are you invited in there for conversations more so than maybe here?
Yes.
And what has been accomplished through that? Do you feel?
We just the Congress passed a Alaska Wilderness Bill, and 101 people signed on to that bill, and we have champions there, and we just recently went there and spoke with a lot of offices, and we will continue to do so. But there's a lot of champions.
So it's basically more than a two-prong effect, I'm guessing. So you're here talking to the companies, you're in Washington talking to the politicians. Voting-wise with the people there up in Alaska, is there enough to make any change in representation there to kind of fight the fight for you on that level?
Unfortunately, there's not. As you know, as you've seen, our state is red. So our Alaskan people, they don't see what we see. They just see money pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's just devastating.
Is there a way a compromise could be met that there could be some of the area of this land that could be drilled while still preserving the vast majority of the land? Or do you feel once you crack that open, it just spreads?
So our caribou are very smart. They been migrating through there for thousands of years for a reason. And if you drill on our land or anything, if you have those thumper trucks going through our land, the caribou would not go back to that place. So we don't want any land drilled on up there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And can you tell me, I know that you, I'm sitting here right next to you, and I think I'm looking at your top, and I'm sorry, I have to ask you about it. Can you talk to us a little bit about the beautiful beading and embroidery?
Yes. So my godmother, Arlene, she made this for me because I started going to Washington, D.C., and I needed a piece. Yeah, I was representing our Gwich'in people, so she made this beautiful piece for me. It's a shawl, and it's made out of a moose skin. Wow. And she made some beautiful designs, feather designs, and feathers represent our strength in Gwich'in people. And it has flowers, and we've been, when we get our caribou, we don't waste anything on it. We use everything. We make clothing, make tools. We harvest all of our meat.
For folks that are listening in a major urban center like we have here, and they see drilling and money and gas and thinking about more so economics of it all, what is your message to people in today's day and age where we look to that and maybe don't necessarily see the beauty of the nature and the importance of the ecology that comes with all this? Basically a message of respecting what we have as a people in our land and celebrating that as opposed to putting maybe the dollar first.
Yeah. So I think of it this way. So people around here, you could just see the big oil companies here, all the that has already been through here. But imagine land that is pristine beauty, that has never been touched. Our animals still go there. They drink our water. Nothing happens to the animals or our people. We're very healthy. And mountains galore. All of the Arctic Refuge just has beautiful mountains that, it's just not touched at all. So when I think about it, and I think about the way here, imagine us or them looking to drill in your church or else your cemetery or wherever is very sacred to you guys.
Of course.
Imagine that, and I'm sure you guys wouldn't want that to happen,
Absolutely.
So that's just the way I think about it. I'm like that, and that's the only way I can describe
it's a good way for us to understand
it. If somebody wanted to read more about the Gwich'in Steering Committee and the community, where could they go to find information about that?
You can go to www.gwich'insteering.org, or we have a Facebook as well, Gwich'in Steering Committee.
Kristen Moreland is the Executive Director of the Gwich'in Steering Committee. Kristen, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Masicho Tibos.
Yes. Coming up, we'll talk to the coach of the Lamar Little League baseball team. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
With federal support gone, Houston Public Media needs a stronger foundation for the future. The Houston Public Media Resiliency Fund is our response to ensure this service remains strong, stable, and community-powered. Your gift today helps us stay on the air tomorrow and the day after that. Give now to the Resiliency Fund at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
Comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525 or at johnmooreservices.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from listeners like you and from Emporium Presents, bringing folk duo Gillian Welsh and David Rawlings to Cullen Performance Hall on August 15th. Tickets now available at Ticketmaster.com. Support for Houston Public Media comes from the 2025-2026 in-print Margaret Root Brown Reading Series, featuring Salman Rushdie, George Saunders, Marie Howe, and others. Season tickets and full lineup at inprint.org.
Writing for television is definitely not for the faint of heart.
A writer's room is kind of like a 9-hour-long meeting, which sounds, I think, scary.
9 is actually humane. I'm Kai Rizdal, the business of comedy with the creators of Hacks. Next time on Marketplace.
You can hear that tonight. It's on at 6:30.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Alley Theater, presenting Agatha Christie's The Mirror Cracked, a mystery where everyone becomes the suspect of a murder in a web of jealousy and hidden truths. Tickets and more at alleytheater.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Celestia Sherman and Ernie Manous.
You know, in that last interview when we were talking about the drilling, the part that really rang home to me was at the end when she mentioned the fact that it's when there's a sacred place, we may not see the same place as sacred as they do, but when she made the comparison to one of our churches or our cemetery, as important as they are to our culture, that this land is important to their culture. I thought that was a really strong point.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, just sitting here with Kristen and the fact that they're trying to bring awareness to this land. And we forget that what we do here in Houston has impacts all over the world.
Yeah, it is amazing how global we are as a city. And sometimes I think we forget about it when we walk around our streets and see those big buildings. Those are impacting what's happening in the rest of the world.
Yes, absolutely. And in a little bit, something else that's happening
that's
right
impacting
here.
At least, well, it's the World Series.
That's right. Yeah. The Little League World Series starts tonight, and we're hoping to chat with a team, the Lamar Little League, who is going to be representing Richmond, Texas, and they're playing tonight. But we understand they are busy, and so we're going to try to get them.
You know, we're so Houston-centric, but boy, oh boy, when it's Richmond that's representing, that's part of Houston.
Absolutely.
That becomes us too.
Absolutely. We know we have listeners in Katy and Cypress and Richmond all over, and so we definitely want to recognize all who are representing our great area.
Talking about things that are happening in our area, we just got a text that was pointing out that the Grenada Theater is going to be demolished at the end of this month or the middle of next month. That upsets me. I don't want to see that theater go away.
So the Grenada Theater, educate me, Ernie. I don't know where that is exactly.
I can tell you exactly in just about
But
a minute.
I'm sure it is something, and I appreciate people sending us texts. You can text us at 713-440-8870. You can also call in and let us know if you have a question or a comment. And you can also email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And, it's very interesting. We've been getting, I know personally, I have been getting a lot of emails about either some type of topic or something that's happening within y'all's area that y'all want us to cover. And so we want to let you know, and I want to let you know, thank you for sending those emails in to me personally. I try to respond to as many as possible. I don't always respond, but I do try.
Let me answer your question. The Grenada Theater is at 9231 Jensen Drive in Houston, Texas. It was opened December 7th, 1949. And I want to say there's a duplicate of it somewhere else. The Capitol Theater in Pasadena is a virtual twin to the Grenada Theater, but with different colors. And it fared much better. But I would hate to see that old theater torn down. I love old theaters. And being the fact that my dad, we've mentioned this before, my dad owned a theater in Pennsylvania when I was a child, and I still love it.
That's right. And President Trump confirmed, looking at something else, kind of heading into a headline, President Trump confirmed in a press release that his administration is looking into reclassifying marijuana from a Schedule I drug, a classification that includes substances like heroin, to a less dangerous category like a Schedule III, which includes everything from hormones like testosterone to drugs like Tylenol with codeine. So we want to know your thoughts. Should marijuana be reclassified? That's very interesting. The U.S. marijuana industry welcomed the possibility. Despite seeing rapid growth from legalization around the country, it still faces huge tax and financial barriers.
What's interesting about that is right now in our legislature, if they hadn't gotten waylaid into the map, one of the things they were going to look at was the THC ban and whether or not it should go. And I'm wondering if the move that the governor not signing that, vetoing it actually, that bill of the abolishing of it had anything to do with it was in concert with what the president wanted to do, which was to move it down as not such a dangerous drug. And so the emphasis isn't as much on it. And maybe that was being worked in concert together.
And that's interesting that you bring up that point, because that was one of the agenda items. We understand Governor Greg Abbott, when he called the special session, there are 18 items. He continues to say that those same 18 items are going to be on the next special session that we're waiting to see when he will call. And it was interesting also hearing from Representative Oliverson yesterday, who talked about property taxes. And there are some other items on the agenda that we have not gotten to that are very pressing for Texans.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. We learned yesterday that they were going to wrap the special session that is currently going on Friday, and then immediately, we're still trying to parse out what he meant by immediately, the governor said, they would start a next special session. So if those agenda items come back to the forefront. Now, yesterday we know that the Texas Senate actually approved the lines drawn for the new map. And so now it's just a case of if the Democrats come back at the start of the new session, which is being rumored they might, then we will find out if that map goes through. Once that happens, then that bottleneck of all this other legislation will move much more quickly through. So we'll find out about the emergency relief funds. We'll find out about the THC bans, what will be the compromises there, because it'll be another 30-day session. And if they deal with the maps immediately at the start of the session, then that gives them a bunch of days to still work on these things we've been waiting for. So it'll be interesting to find out how that all plays out.
And it's really interesting, right? Also, Ernie, the fact that I have never more in my lifetime wanted to understand truly our Texas Constitution and seeing what powers, the governor has, the Attorney General has, because from what I understand, the Texas Constitution is quite different than most other states.
They put the most power seems to sit with the lieutenant governor.
Yes.
The governor makes policy, but the lieutenant governor has the ability to move bills and all of that in a certain way that gives him more power. And so what we've seen in recent years has been kind of a building of a tension between those two seats. And that showed out with the THC ban, was that was something that definitely our Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was definitely in favor of, but our governor then went and vetoed. So it builds a little tension there between those seats. It'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. It'll be interesting.
Yes, and we continue to wait for our next guest. But if you want to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. You can join that via phone. You can also send us a text or send us an email, talk@hellohouston.org.
We were talking a little earlier about how about how Taco Bell was adding a new Mountain Dew flavor, and we were talking about the colors of it. And then I guess both you and I stepped in it when we made reference to the fact that Taylor Swift has a new album coming out, and neither of us seem impacted by it. We may be a little old for it. But somebody posted and said, the only color that really matters, not the purple or the blue of these mountains, it's orange. And that's going to be the orange of Taylor Swift's new album. They're pushing orange. Even the Empire State Building went orange with the lights. Was that done in concert with, I'm using concert a lot today. Was that done in conjunction with what Taylor's, or was it just a happy coincidence? We'll find out.
Yeah, and I don't know what you said, Ernie, but it made me think about what we're going to be doing this Friday. We're going to be having a simulcast with Florida. And so that we wanted to talk to you guys about that. We can take this time right now to do that. We're very excited, but it's a very interesting topic.
It comes out of the whole idea about the school vouchers going through here in Texas. Well, Florida has been dealing with that. So we thought it was a great opportunity to meet our show with their show.
They actually reached out to us
and wanted to have this conversation. So it's kind of like we can look into a crystal ball, as I often ask guests to do, to let us know. So how did it work for you? What happened? But the nice thing is both sides, both in Florida and here, we're going to have our phone lines open. So your questions, comments can be shared. If you have a question about how this in practice really looked, hopefully Florida can point that out to us and share with us. And we can also share with them our concerns and our hesitations here, or our excitement about what's happening, and then hear from someone who's really experiencing it.
That's right. And that is WLRN. They are the public station out in South Florida, and we will be doing a simulcast with them this Friday. And it's one of those things where you can start sending in your comments and your questions. And that's what we're here to do. We are going to be a place where we're looking at another state. We're going to have them, people in Florida are going to call in and be able to talk about it. I know
so
you were
join us on our simulcast. We've got some more chatter going on in the chat over on YouTube. What's up there?
Yes, my British computer guy says, honestly, y'all, that's like saying 1/3.
This is referring back to the drilling.
Oh, okay. This is referring back to the drilling. Honestly, y'all, that's like saying 1/3 of the rest of the U.S. is sacred. I feel her pain, and I get that they don't want drilling on their land, but there has to be some compromise. Just saying. Yeah, Cosme Garcia says, why do we need to drill at all? Don't we have a surplus? I mean, those are all really great questions. I'm more of a we need to preserve as much land as possible that is to indigenous people and communities.
I thought you were going to say I'm more of a drill, baby, drill kind of gal.
So many times I wanted in my mind, I wanted to be respectful, but so many times I thought, so that drill, baby, drill really is not a good quote for you.
Yes, it's not. We are also interested in what's on your mind. Please give us a call, 713-440-8870. Any of the topics we've discussed on today's show. We've got a full hour still to come on the show. I'm excited. We're going to be talking about world-class meats. It's kind of interesting.
Very interesting.
After we just talked, but the interesting point about what our guest said in the last segment about when they have to take down an animal, they use every part of it. The meat and the bones and the hide. And so it's a respect to the animal that they use all of it. Nothing goes to waste. Also coming in, Kam Franklin will be here from The Sufferers. We cannot wait to hear what she's got planned as she kind of moves in a solo direction. What does that mean?
Ooh, well, we're going to find out. Coming up on Hello Houston, we'll continue diving also into the top stories of the day. Stay with us for the second hour of Hello Houston.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Hi, I'm Erica Barris from Planet Money.
And I'm Guy Raz from How I Built This.
Between inflation and worker shortages, it's important to understand the economy right now.
That's right, and find out how entrepreneurs make it work for them.
Listen to Planet Money and How I Built This from NPR for an hour of economics
and innovation
every week.
Planet Money and How I Built This, Saturdays at 9 a.m. on News 88.7.
I'm Jesse Thorne. You want some real, insightful conversations about where art comes from? Well, Bullseye has you covered.
as long as you don't mind a little bit of ridiculousness.
Y'all was like really judging me though.
They sniffed it out. They sniffed out that I was weird.
I was like, I don't know where I'm going to sit, just like in the movies.
Listen, learn, laugh. Bullseye from Maximum Fun and NPR.
Bullseye, Thursdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7. Support comes from GenPro, a Houston-based home generator service providing power to homes during unexpected outages, helping with connectivity and productivity. More information is available at genpro.com.
11:59, I'm Tom Carter. We have a 30% chance of an afternoon shower or thunderstorm. Currently, it's 89. This is your NPR station, KUHF, Houston. News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, we'll continue diving into today's top stories, including, are the Texas House Democrats ready to return to the state after raising awareness about the mid-decade redistricting effort? I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Celestia Sherman. We'll also talk with Kam Franklin, lead singer of The Sufferers, who will tell us all about her new solo project.
Plus, we'll also learn about World Class Meats, a Houston-based premium distributor specializing in exotic meats and wild game.
And we want to hear from you, so give us a call or send us a text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Just go to houstonpublicmedia.org and click the big orange banner.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. President Trump says he is hoping his summit with his Russian counterpart Friday sets the table for a follow-up that would also involve Russia's rival Ukraine. So far, President Trump has been unable to mediate a ceasefire in the war, but today he says there's a very good chance of a second meeting. The president updated reporters on a wide range of issues at an event to announce this year's Kennedy Center honorees. He's also set to host the event at a time when his administration has faced a string of controversies involving foreign and domestic actions, including most recently a decision to place D.C. law enforcement under federal oversight.
But I shouldn't make this political because they made the Academy Awards political and they went down the tubes. So they'll say, Trump made it political, but I think if we make it our kind of political, we'll go up, okay? Let's see if I'm right about that.
By the way, this year's Kennedy Center honorees include Kiss, George Strait, Gloria Gaynor, Sylvester Stallone, and Michael Crawford. Well, following an emergency virtual meeting between European leaders and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and President Trump, Zelensky said Trump, who will be meeting with Russian President Putin on Friday in Alaska, supports a ceasefire and security guarantees for Ukraine. Here's NPR's Rob Schmitz.
At a press conference in Berlin, Zelensky said he told President Trump that before any negotiation on a path to peace in Ukraine, Russia must first agree to a ceasefire and security guarantees. He said Trump voiced his support for this idea. President Trump is scheduled to meet one-on-one with Putin in Alaska on Friday to discuss an end to the war. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz told reporters he and his European colleagues told Trump Ukraine is prepared to negotiate on territorial issues, but legal recognition of Russian occupation is not up for debate. Whether Putin agrees to any of this is an open question. Rob Schmitz, NPR News, Berlin.
A small town in rural Tennessee will soon be the site of a privately run ICE detention center. Mariana Bacallao of member station WPLN reports the town of Mason approved the contract at a tense meeting last night.
A 600-bed prison in the town of Mason has sat empty for nearly 4 years, but it will soon be filled with ICE detainees from across the Mid-South. In a contentious town hall meeting, the mayor stressed the economic opportunities for cash-strapped Mason. Resident Civil Miller Watkins said she doesn't see all money as good money.
This particular detention center will be less than 20 minutes from my son's high school. And when he graduates, this is not the job I want him to be able to have.
The detention center will be privately run by CoreCivic, a for-profit prison operator, which is under investigation by the DOJ. For NPR News, I'm Mariana Bacallao in Nashville.
It's NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. The ongoing quorum break in the Texas House could soon be over. That's according to Mark Jones at the Baker Institute at Rice University. He spoke with Houston Matters this morning.
I think Democrats are probably at their breaking point. Remember, there are 62 of them, 56 left the state, or well, theoretically left the state. Some of them stayed here. They don't have the numbers anymore that are willing to continue this, especially with no real end game, since the governor, as you mentioned, can call them back session after session after session.
Governor Abbott can keep calling special sessions until January of 2027. In a statement to Houston Public Media, the House Democratic Caucus tells us that, quote, members are still assessing their strategies going forward and are in meetings to make decisions about future plans currently. The Texas Senate has passed a bill aimed at cracking down on abortion pill prescribers and manufacturers. Partner station KUT's Olivia Aldridge reports.
Although this special legislative session is set to adjourn later this week, Senate Republicans voted Tuesday to pass the bill, reviving an effort that failed in the Texas House during the regular session. Senate Bill 6 would introduce a civil right to action allowing Texas residents to sue out-of-state doctors who provide abortion pills to women in Texas. The bill's sponsor, Republican Senator Brian Hughes, says it's targeting the method women are using to access abortion under the state's total abortion ban.
What's happening in Texas today? Moms are going online or calling a number, and they receive these pills in the mail.
Despite the Senate's passage, the bill can't move forward in the House while Democrats are still breaking quorum. I'm Olivia Aldridge in Austin.
Another Cleveland ISD bus was involved in a rollover crash today. Multiple outlets reporting the bus had more than 50 students on board. It's the second bus crash in the school district this week. The first one happened Monday morning on the same road, FM 1010. The district says no major injuries were reported, but several students were taken to the hospital for evaluation. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from ARM, committed to delivering innovative, advanced computing designed to enable worldwide companies to unleash the capabilities and experiences of AI. The future of AI is built on ARM. ARM.com. This is NPR.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Frank
back
is
again.
out, and we're
Frank
back.
Frank is out, and we're going to talk over each other because we don't have to have a third person talking over us today.
That's right.
It's been a great first hour. We've got another impactful second hour coming. We've got one of our dear friends here at the station is coming to join us, Kam Franklin from the Suffers. She's going to be on to talk about what her new plans are for the future, and then we're going to take a look at exotic meats.
Interesting.
Yeah. What are folks eating? What are the flavor profiles? Learn about that industry, which we know very little about.
My husband and I and our family lived in Australia for a short little period of time. And when we were there, kangaroo meat is very common. And it just still... It did. It kind of weirded me out, to be honest with you, to see like poultry and, beef. And then there was pork, and then there was kangaroo.
It's funny how in different places we have different understandings of what are the
Yes.
meats we eat and what are the ones we don't. And globally, it changes from place to place.
I just
what they
couldn't get
consume.
behind it. I just could not
That's how
get
we were
behind it.
raised. Well, we're going to find out about what folks in this area are eating and what exotic meats are in our area and available for us to try and hopefully enjoy. Also, I want to go back to, we were talking about drilling up in the Arctic and Alaska territories, and Jen from Clear Lake sent us a text that said, I just don't understand the economic benefit of selling land that people don't want to buy. I mean, in order to be used, infrastructure like roads and bridges, etc., are needed, and we, the taxpayers, will end up footing the bill so that we can do that. Sell land at a loss? Conservation of the land is also fiscally responsible in this situation.
Yes, and we also got another comment from Cosme Garcia, who says, I think most of the oil we drill in the U.S. is too sweet for our refineries. We have to ship it out of the country for it to even be refined.
Yes, and there is a whole story about that, about the oil that we drill is different than the oil that we get from other places, and therefore the refineries and all. It's not as simple as it seems that we can just drill in our own backyard and have cheaper prices in gas. It doesn't work that quickly, and it's not that simple a process.
No, but as we continue to look at the processes in the way we look at redistricting and maps right here in the state of Texas, Texas House Democrats have reportedly confirmed they intend to return to their state after fleeing an attempt to halt legislative proceedings, which included GOP attempts to redraw congressional districts in the state. Multiple sources confirmed to ABC 13 Houston on Tuesday that the absent House Democrats will return to the Lone Star State after, again, feeling like they accomplished their mission of killing the special legislative session called by Republicans to pass redistricting legislation. The special session expires next Tuesday. News of the lawmakers' imminent return to the state comes on the same day that Texas Senate Republicans were able to get the new congressional maps approved. They must now be passed in the House before Republican Governor Greg Abbott can sign them into law. Earlier this week, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick and Republican House Speaker Dustin Burrows indicated they would adjourn the special legislative session this Friday if Democrats had not returned by then. Now is the time to call in at 713-440-8870. Did the House Democratic Party win or just delay the vote? Again, 713-440-8870.
Yeah, the special session will be expiring on Friday. Pretty much we can guarantee that. And the governor has said he will call for a second special session to begin immediately. Still trying to parse out you were talking about this earlier, the meaning of words. Immediately, does that mean if they gavel out at, and I'm using the wrong term there, but at 1 o'clock, at 1:02, do they start the new session, or do they wait till Monday to start the new session? We don't know yet, and we'll see. The other thing is the House Democrats, there have been indications that they're going to come back, but they're also saying that they're going to assess and decide and haven't firmly committed to the return or the continuation of the walkout. So we're still watching that story as it develops, as you heard in the news just a couple minutes ago. So it's an interesting time. An interesting point. As far as did they win or not, in some ways I feel like they moved the goalpost. Mm-hmm. It was what we heard earlier on in the walk was we are prepared to stay long term as long as it takes. You know, people asked, would you stay through December? How long would you stay? And they kept saying, we are in for the long haul. We're in here to prove our point. Then I think reality sets in and you start to realize you have jobs, funding is cut off. It's costing you $500 a day per member, which is about 50 members were out. So a lot of money was being brought in, being charged in, and they're going to have to be responsible for that. So did that change their decision? Is that what's going to play into the decision to return or not?
And it was very interesting speaking with Representative Ann Johnson, who is one of the Democratic legislators who fled the state, and I believe she was in Chicago. And it was interesting to hear her say that, yes, they believe that this is a big win for them. And then within that second hour yesterday, we spoke with Representative Tom Oliverson, and I asked him flat out, do you think this is a win? And to a certain extent, I think he did respond and say, sure, they won this battle, but we will win the war, essentially what that is. And we have seen that the governor is being very clear on his plan. He is saying he will call, and he is prepared to call a special session unlimited times until he moves forward with the legislative policies that he wants to move forward with.
That he gets that map.
That he gets that map. And so it's dependent on who you're asking. I think that in a short-term look at it, I feel like the Texas Democratic legislators feel like they got their messaging across. They were very clear. They were very unified in that. From a long-term effect, I'm not sure if this is going to have a long-term implication. We've also asked yesterday, the Republican representative, Tom Oliverson, would the Republican Party in Texas look towards a more California version, a Texas version. I'm not saying exactly like California, but a commission for redistricting. And he said no. I mean, he's not kind of sides up in that's not the move that they would necessarily want to move forward with.
Yeah, I think what he was implying is if it were nationally done and everyone were on the same field, fine. But they're not. And so this is the power we have in our state, and we're the ruling power, and that's what we're going to do. When you go back to was it a success or not a success, it becomes that point of maybe it truly was a win because they got the country talking about this redistricting. They brought attention to it, which is what they wanted to do. As you said, with the governor being able to call session after session, eventually this map looks like it will go through. There doesn't seem to be any work happening on the other side of the aisle saying we'll work with you on this. So it's pretty much a done deal. It was just how long can they stay out. So if they got the message out, then it's a win. The other point that I like to look at, because I'm putting on my conspiracy hat, somewhere along the line, they've gotten guarantees from these other governors in these other states that if this goes through in Texas, they've got their back by doing their redistricting, especially in California. So you can go back because you're just incurring debt. And so go back, let this map go through. We got you covered. That may be, if that conversation has happened, and this is pure speculation on my part, that may be why then the Democrats are saying, okay, we can go back because what we need to achieve, we have achieved. This is going to be neutralized by another state. My bigger problem in all of that is it's still stripping the voice of some people in this state, we believe, by this redistricting. At least that's what they believe in this state. And so it doesn't matter really ultimately the balance of power at the federal level. It's do our communities have a fair say in who gets elected in our state? We've got to keep that in mind, too.
And you can join the conversation at 713-440-8870. We have a call. Thomas from Montgomery. Thomas, welcome to Hello Houston. What is your comment or question?
Well, my opinion is that Abbott and Paxton have no minds of their own. They're under the thumb of and under the control of Donald Trump. They put Trump's agenda ahead of the state of Texas. And Trump, being an outright bigot and has been a bigot for years, wants only white people in charge of everything. He wants only white voters, and that's Abbott's opinion, too. Abbott wants to take away the votes from black and Hispanic voters, and he wants white voters controlling every district.
Let me put a little wrinkle in your theory here and tell me what you think. Do you think it's because the governor wants to do the will of the current president, or is it that the governor is thinking of his presidential run in a couple of years, possibly, and therefore he wants to be on the side of what he sees as the current winning team?
Abbott is doing the bidding of Donald Trump. Let's face it. I mean, we had one president in a wheelchair years ago, FDR. He had brains. Abbott has none. Abbott's an idiot. Claims we're going to an attorney general. He doesn't seem to know the law. It's crazy. I mean, it's nuts. The things he's doing. I mean, why can't he? They were talking about flooding. Get to the flooding part. They can redistrict anytime they want. I mean, it's just totally stupid. This business of trying to
Thomas,
change.
I think you voice the frustration of a lot of folks throughout the state and are concerned with how things are going, while at the other hand, people voted for these elected officials, and that's what is ruling our state. So we go back to the point that we bring up all the time. Your vote is what matters, and make sure that your voice is heard when it comes time to vote. Thomas, thank you for your call.
And again, you can join the conversation. The number is 713-440-8870. We do have a call from Jolie from Bel Air. Jolie, welcome to Hello Houston.
Hi, thank you. I just want to comment. You know, I do agree partially with what Thomas just said, but I don't think so much that this is about Abbott following Trump. Excuse me. I think this is just more about the Republican Party is also, just taking a different approach. They're doing things, they obviously have an agenda that they're going towards, and Texas seems to be like the testing ground for it in some sense. But as far as breaking quorum and our representatives coming back, whether that being a win or loss, it brought attention, I think was maybe their goal. So I wouldn't look at it maybe so black and white. And I would just think that bringing that attention, like I said, would hopefully just kind of initiate more people to be involved and let our representatives actually represent us and prevent these things from happening.
Jolie, thank you very much for your thoughts. Thank you for calling. You can call us at 713-440-8870 and share your thoughts with us like Michael from Westgate is about to do right now. Michael, what's on your mind?
Hi, Ernie. I think you guys are missing the real point of this.
Please focus us in.
Since the Trump administration started, the Democrats have risen up and fought.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, suddenly the governors of New York, of Illinois, and California, and we may be seeing the Democratic presidential nominee for 2028 suddenly decided, we're not going to put up with this. We're going to fight back. I see this, and I applaud. By the way, Gene Wu is my representative, and I think he's, I'm going to increase my contributions to him after this. But the point is that this is finally the Democrats realizing they've got to stand up and they've got to fight these people. And I would use as an analogy the British at Dunkirk. Yes, it was a defeat. They withdrew all their troops, but you know what? They lived to fight another day, and they won. And I think the Democrats eventually will, too.
Michael, thank you for that. Celeste had brought up the point, too, when we were talking about this and about the Democrats fighting. What she basically said was it was a time when they got to all speak with one voice, and they had very unified talking points and very much prove what they were saying.
And that's something that I think a lot of voters have been saying, where is the Democratic Party? Why are they not doing anything, saying anything? I think a lot of their messaging has been off and not unified. Right before we were going into the Texas legislative session, we talked with Gene Wu and, we asked him, what is your strategy going into this legislative session? And he really didn't have much to say. And so I think that there are people that want to hear what they're saying, and the Democratic legislators of Texas are speaking up and they're speaking loudly.
I think part of that, too, is that they knew that they were planning to break quorum. And so when they didn't have an agenda, it's because they didn't expect to be here, and they knew they weren't. We did have a chance to speak with Gene Wu. It's up on YouTube. I had about a half an hour chat with him about this while they were out of the state, or currently out of the state, but this was recorded after they had left. And we're also talking with Representative Wu's people right now about having him on in the next couple of days to tell us where they're at with that. So keep listening to the show. We're going to be swinging back through that topic, and hopefully Gene Wu will be with us.
And we also continue to reach out to all of our Republican elected officials and Texas Republican legislators. They're always welcome. We are actively reaching out to them to make sure that we hear from both sides. We also have a call from John from Pearland. John, welcome to Hello Houston. What's your comment?
Well, thank you. I just got a couple of things. First of all, in your opinion, is what the Republicans are trying to do illegal? Is it immoral or just unethical? And secondly, I forget which one it was, either Trump or Abbott justified this by saying there were more Republican voters in Texas, and now they deserve 5 more seats. If there are that many more Republican voters, why can't they just vote in the districts they're in and win without having to expand the way they're trying to do this?
John, thank you for your points. As far as our opinion on this map and the redistricting now, I would probably say from what we've heard and what we see, and I speak only for myself in this, is that legally they don't seem to be breaking a law. That the way so much of how our government functioned is by tradition and respect for each other and norms. But when it comes to the legality of it, that becomes trickier. And in this case, at least as far as I can see, there is no law that says they can't do it. So I would probably have to follow, and I find it somewhat unethical to middle of the cycle changing maps. I think that gerrymandering in the first place, I think is done very partisan, and I never really am in favor of it, no matter which party does it, because I don't think it truly represents the will of the people. It represents the will of the parties. But legally, it is allowed to be gerrymandered for political interests, just not for racial and protected interests. And therefore, it does fall into legal, if I am reading this correctly.
And the Texas Republican legislators continue to say that their redistricting of these congressional maps is not racial. It is political, and both sides do it. And to a certain extent, they're saying that, well, this is politics. Both sides do it, and they are just doing what they were put in office to do, and that is to continue to move forward their legislative agenda forward. We also have another call, Diane from West Houston. Diane, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you. My point is that even if Abbott is aiming to be president in the future, right now he needs to focus on Texas, which is his priority. We are a very strong state. We don't have to worry about Trump in 2, 3 to 4 years. We need to focus on now and Texas and the flooding. And by the way, Republicans are getting mad, and this is just going to piss him off more. He's going to lose more votes if he keeps this kind of up. Stand up and be our governor and do what focuses on our needs right now.
Diane, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us at 713-440-8870. Great. We have great listeners who have very strong points of view, and I like hearing them all across the spectrum.
We do, and we know that we have listeners from all sides and in the middle and to the right and to the left.
Let's find out where Natalie stands. Natalie from Pearland is on the line. Natalie, what are your thoughts today?
Hi. I called in because I was really excited to hear this conversation, but really I was very concerned about the idea that people believe that their vote doesn't count. The vote counts, but what's disappointing is when we're gerrymandering. By gerrymandering, then we are taking away the power of the vote. And also, ultimately, we're stepping all the way back to the idea of taxation without representation. The caller that said that if the Republicans have that much of a stronghold on votes, then they don't need to gerrymander is right. I just think it's very disappointing that we have stooped to this level. Thanks.
Thank you for that point. It makes me think of the little statement that's going around that voters are supposed to pick the politicians. The politicians aren't supposed to pick the voters. And that's kind of what gerrymandering is there for, so that the voter or the politicians get to select and almost force the hand. In Magic, when you have a card trick, it's called a force, when you make them think they're picking the card of their choice, but you're forcing a particular card toward them. And that's what this reminds me of. Thank you for that comment.
And again, you can join the conversation at 713-440-8870. Coming up on Hello Houston, we will talk with Kam Franklin, the lead singer of The Sufferers. She is striking out solo, and her fans are all in, and she's here to talk about it. This is News 88.7. With federal funding cuts, Houston Public Media has lost $2.2 million annually. In response, we have launched the Resiliency Fund, an urgent initiative to protect the programs and services you rely on. That includes PBS Kids, that provides free educational programming to children and families across Greater Houston. Your support of the Resiliency Fund helps keep this vital service accessible to our community. Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
To learn more. Thank you. This is Ira Glass. On This American Life, we like stories that surprise you. For instance, imagine finding a new hobby and realizing
to do this hobby right, according to the ways of the masters, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to have to bend the law to get the materials that you need.
If not break it.
Yeah, to break international laws.
Real life stories, really good ones, every week.
This American Life. It's on tonight at 9 p.m.
President Trump has taken over Washington, D.C.'s police force and deployed the National Guard in the nation's capital. He says he might do the same in places like Los Angeles, Chicago, and Baltimore, all in the name of public safety. Yet crime rates in cities around the country are at their lowest point in decades. What it all means for our nation's capital and beyond. Next time on 1A.
1A is coming up this afternoon at 2 p.m.
Support comes from Serverless Solutions, aligning businesses with technology, including cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, and cloud-based infrastructure. More information is available at serverless-solutions.com.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Miller Outdoor Theater, with a 90s mixtape event on Friday featuring Broadway vocalists, and Summer Mixtape Saturday, celebrating Houston's local music scene. Open to the public. MillerOutdoorTheater.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Celeste Diaz-Sherman and Ernie Manous.
Houston's own Kam Franklin, lead singer of the Suffers, is striking out solo, and her fans are all in. She recently crowdfunded her debut solo album, hitting her $20,000 goal in just 11 days, with most backers coming from right here in Texas. The new record, set to drop next April, will feature collaborations with local artists and mark a bold new chapter in one of Houston's most beloved vocal voices. Kam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great. I've talked with you on other shows. You've been on other programs. This is your first time on Hello Houston, isn't it?
This is my first time on Hello Houston.
If folks want to chat with one of our favorite singers, you can call us right now at 713-440-8870. Okay, first thing, before we get into anything else, and it's going to strike fear with people, the Suffers still continue even though you're going to do a solo album, or have you
Absolutely.
left? Okay, that's what I was worried about.
Oh my gosh, no. I mean, honestly, I hope that there's a way for the Suffers to exist forever.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's just through us existing in this lifetime versus the music just getting to continue on its own when we're all long gone.
Yeah.
And this year makes 14 years of the Suffers doing independent music. Next year makes 10 years since our debut album, which was also funded via Kickstarter. And I mean, honestly, we just played in Erie, Pennsylvania last weekend and headlined a jazz festival out there. And the entire time we're just talking about how grateful we are to be at a stage where we get to headline anything in a climate where there's so much darkness going on. It was just so wonderful to be in a place where the high was 74 degrees that day and to play original music and to play it with some of my best friends.
So, Kam, what sparked the inspiration, the interest for you to decide to make this solo album?
Well, the economy was definitely a driving factor. But more than anything, it was just my own personal desire to get out songs that just didn't make sense for my band. The Suffers is a big band, and we do really fun, upbeat, soulful music. Every now and then we get a little deep, but for the most part, we try to keep it easy and relatable. And for my solo project, I wanted to go into much deeper topics. I wanted to ask much tougher questions that are considered intense. And usually you only hear in blues music, folk music, and Americana, three of my favorite genres. And so I had the opportunity to open for Grammy nominee Margot Price a couple years ago. And Margot is actually the co-producer of this album. And while it features so many local voices, I would be remiss to not talk about all of the Nashville and Arkansas voices that made their way onto my record. And she's one of them, her husband, Jeremy Ivey, Kevin Morby, and so many other singer-songwriters that I'm just grateful that I get to be in the room with.
I'm wondering, are you saying that it might have a bit of a country sound to it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, some of my biggest influences are Texas country artists. Most people that know me for real know that while The Suffers is my most successful project, I got my start in Americana, in country, in blues, in a band called Nick Gaitan and the Umbrella Man, in tiny bars out in Baytown, working in karaoke bars that don't exist anymore. Shout out to Shady O'Grady's, the bar that I worked at forever, where I was a horrible bartender, but I made most of my money because the clients would be like, well, can you sing that one Patty Loveless song again? Yeah. And I'd make more money doing that than I would serving really bad 7 and 7s.
So then tell me this, for a lot of artists that listen to this, and the dream seems so hard to hold on to, and it works. The system seems to almost work against you. What kept it alive for you through the peaks and the valleys to continue to follow your passion?
My friends, my family, and fans reminding me that they still listen to my music. Yeah. People checking in, being like, where's the rest of it? When are we getting more? But also just that love for music itself. It is impossible. It is very hard. But at the end of the day, I think that there is something that comes from doing something with your own hands, with your own perseverance, and with your community behind your back. And I would not be here without the Houston community. I would not be here without all of these people that continue to take chances on me and my art. And I'm really just grateful for the opportunity to keep growing into that and leaning into that. And, listening to this record, you're going to hear my band members in the Suffers. You're going to hear a lot of artists that you've never heard of. And I'm grateful just for it being done.
So you're like Stevie Nicks doing a solo while still in Fleetwood Mac.
Sure, why not? Sure, I'll take that.
So, Kam, you mentioned community, and it seems like the community really got behind you financially. Talk to us about that process, and I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Yes, it was. I told one of my friends it felt like a month-long panic attack because, yes, while it's very fun and exciting to be on this side of a crowdfunding campaign like what I just did, it was 45 days of, will I actually make this happen?
Right, because you don't get the money unless you hit the goal, right?
If you go through Kickstarter, you do not get the money unless you get the goal.
So this album was also through Kickstarter?
So the album itself was actually 7 years of my own money. 7 years of me sacrificing probably a much nicer looking lifestyle because I already had the Suffers. So trying to convince people that the Suffers should exist was its own trials and tribulations, a story that we've gotten to share, thankfully, over the years because of the station many times. That was already one thing. When I told people that I wanted to work on a solo record, I then started getting a lot of pushback. Why would you do that? It's so hard. You already have this going on. And I'm like, in a reality check world that I live in, most people listen to music on Spotify. The CEO of Spotify is not pro-artist. I don't care what anyone likes to say about it. Daniel Ek is not pro-artist and has openly said that if artists would like to survive in this economy, they need to realistically prepare themselves to release 2 to 3 times per year. 2 to 3 albums per year. Mm-hmm. Most of the people I know that Fleetwood Mac, Foo Fighters, these bigger artists, they take years and a lot of money, a lot of other people's money usually to make records happen. And so what worked most for the Suffers was trusting and believing in what we were doing on the art side and believing that we could make it work. And if the only thing you're telling me is that the workload is hard, but not that it actually is impossible, I have to keep going and see what actually happens. And so I came from corporate America. I came from, if it doesn't get done today, you're not going to be able to eat. And so that's how I apply myself when it comes to making a record is this is my personal deadline. No one expects anything from me, but I know that if I don't finish X, Y, and Z, I'm probably not going to make my rent. I'm probably not going to pay my bills. And now that I've gotten to a place where I have a groove and I understand how that works, I knew right away how to apply it to my solo work and what it would take to make this happen. But realistically, I knew I couldn't launch this 5-6 years ago. Most of my album was written during COVID because I had the time and space to create it then. And then once we were able to start going back out again and I was able to start doing more appearances, doing more work on my own, it was, oh, this is what I'm saving? Okay. It was, oh, I can apply for this little grant. Well, if I'm able to pay myself from this, that money's going to go towards this record. And every dollar that I made over about 7.5 years, studio time. Studio time. Well, all right. And so now we're here, and I got it done last year. But then it became, oh, well, to have a successful album, you have to have some type of physical product to sell,
Right.
unless you want to depend on 700 millionaires like Daniel Ek. That's what he had to put towards war profiteering, not how much he's actually worth. He's a multi-billionaire. But I'm just saying this not to knock him, but so that my fellow musicians understand how hard it actually is.
Right. Yeah.
And there's no shame in maintaining a job. There's no shame in asking for help, because at the end of the day, that's all I did was ask for help. And I asked for help publicly and widely. And for 45 days, every day, I let people know how much I needed and what I needed that money for.
Yeah.
And I got it done, but there's no guarantee in this. And had I not had the career that I had, I'm not sure that it would have been as successful.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't say that to discourage anyone. I hope anyone that's trying to pursue this just goes for it.
I want to remind everyone we're speaking with singer Kam Franklin. You may know her from The Sufferers, or soon to be from her solo album. If you'd like to join the conversation, you can call or text us at 713-440-8870. To jump on the end of what you were just saying there, I think what people miss is the economics of making music today, that from the recordings, from the album, you don't really make your money. It's from the touring and the merchandising, which is where you get the money.
Absolutely.
Records have become just the promotion for what comes out. If you just relied on your songs being played on Spotify, you would be needing that other job.
Absolutely. And the reason I needed this help was so that I could create physical albums to sell at shows. Because if I'm going off of streaming, that's less than a penny per stream.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, what's crazier is that if you invest in yourself and you're able to raise the $7,000 to $10,000 that it might cost you to produce 1,000 units of your music, and you know that there's at least 1,000 people out there that want that record, you can sell each unit for what it's worth, which is about $40 per unit. The average touring artist sells their physical vinyl record, which now is outselling CDs again.
Welcome back, vinyl.
Thank God. Thank God. Welcome back, vinyl. And true audio heads and files really are grateful for this to be happening too. And Forbes magazine just put out that, yet again, vinyl is outperforming CDs. So as a solo independent artist, that tells me that that's where the money needs to be going. Because if you're investing $10,000 and you can turn a profit of $40,000, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going for.
I do want to know, and I know that I'm about to get a little tabloidy with you. You guys, the Sufferers, got to go around and do the late night national talk shows.
Yes.
Tell me some stories of what those were like and how it gelled with what you expected it to be like and what you actually encountered.
Everyone had an opinion about Letterman. And we played the last few weeks of his show being on air. I believe that we are the last independent band that he had on air. Paul Schaefer, the first thing he said to my mother, who was there as soon as we got off the stage, was, "It's a shame we're ending. You guys would be great to have back." With Kimmel, we were there the day that they were recording their annual Academy Award special. Anybody that watches Jimmy Kimmel Live knows that he always has an ongoing Troll Academy Award show special that usually involves some kind of craziness with Matt Damon. And I didn't see Matt Damon, but Matt Damon was there taping his parts. And Melissa, who previously worked on my team, was like, "Oh my gosh, I just saw Matt Damon. Matt Damon's dressed up like a spaceman." Just no context. And, I'm dealing with the anxiety of getting ready to go on stage. And all of us were getting ready We're dealing with that collective anxiety, and it is something that can't be described.
Is there more anxiety going on knowing you're doing national television in that moment, or is it pretty much the same as it is every time you're going out before a big audience?
It's different every time. The first time was the most anxious. Letterman was definitely the strangest, weirdest, all eyes on you moment.
Yeah.
Because I would definitely say that when he was on the air, it was still very much so an era where a lot of people were still discovering music in that way through watching television. Now our phones are our gateway to so much, right? And I would say that while Tiny Desk is not late night, it is up there with the impact. Like, there are people that will still come up to us and react the same way that we played on Tiny Desk, the way that, oh my gosh, you did Daily Show, or oh my gosh, you did Letterman. It's up there to them. And I tell folks that you got to have grace with every artist you see on NPR Tiny Desk, because most of them can't hear themselves. There's no monitors.
It's the NPR show where they do it in an office. Yeah, just so people who don't know know.
Yes, and when you watch The Sufferers NPR Tiny Desk, I am on top of the desk because I could not hear myself, and I was trying to sing over horns in tune, because I know that a lot of our fans are vocal purists.
Well, why wouldn't they be? Look who the lead singer is.
Yes, and I was not trying to be the artist out of tune on
You're listening to Hello Houston. We are speaking with singer Kam Franklin. You can join the conversation with a call or text at 713-440-8870. And we do have a call from Paul from Friendswood. Welcome to Hello Houston, Paul. What is your question or comment for Kam?
Well, hello, guys. Thank you for having me. So I have a couple of questions. I have one statement. Is it not true, and I'm just asking this because I don't know if I'm right or wrong, that records used to be used as a promotional item in, like, say, the 1930s, 40s, and then bandstands were where you would make music. You would make the money at a bandstand. Like, all these people would be crammed in a bus and traveling from bandstand to bandstand. And that's how they would make their money. They would give away the records for free. That changed. Then the LimeWire wars happened. Everything happened with Napster. Then, of course, iPhone, Apple. And now we're here at Spotify, where they're creating fake artists. I totally understand everything that she's going through. My question is, what about artists like McDonald, who's on YouTube, rapper, and Tom McDonald, I believe is his name. And he's a multimillionaire, and he's just a rapper on YouTube. I mean, granted, he's doing shows, he's performing, but how do we tell artists who are new? Because I've been an artist, I've been signed to labels, I've gotten to travel around the world. It's been a great day. But how do we tell new artists how to do the same thing, to take their whole thing into their own value system and their own website, so that they can own all the rights, they can own everything, and not need to use these systems?
Paul, thank you for that. Let's find out Kam's thoughts on it.
Well, Paul, I have to say, first of all, I appreciate just the overal musicology.
I know the history lesson we got.
We just went through such a deep musicology history lesson to get to your question. Let me skip a few steps. Yes, you are correct. Once upon a time, that is how vinyl records were used. They were used as promotional tools, because they were so hard and expensive to make that it didn't make sense to mass produce at the time when most people were listening to the radio. And so it made sense to get through the early vinyl productions into the hands of those DJs, the program directors, so that it could be heard in mass. I also love how you skipped 50 years of music technology to get to Napster, which I won't go into depths of, because I feel like there's an incredible music documentary called How Music Got Free, directed by Alex, I want to say her last name is Tanakis, but How Music Got Free. She is from here in Houston.
Oh, that's cool.
And it goes through the history of Napster, how it actually is a lot deeper than the creators of Napster, and goes all the way to a CD plant in North Carolina where the workers were allegedly underpaid and were stealing the music before it ever got onto the stores, and getting those music files to these young preteens that were then uploading the music to file sharing sites like Napster, LimeWire, and more. Anyway, the documentary is called Music Got Free. There's a book of the same name that goes into the how, why, what, and how it is still impacting the music industry today, how those choices made at that time eventually led to the closure of so many great music stores like Borders and bookstores that shared space with them. But I think the more important part of your question, Paul, gets into how new artists are supposed to exist, survive find their own sustainability in a climate that just feels like it's constantly against them. And I'll say it the way that it was explained to me when I first wanted to get into music back in 2004. And that's get a library card, get access to the internet. If you don't have it, go to that library and watch artists like the artist you mentioned, McDonald, on YouTube, because there is not one way to do this successfully. I'm sure that in addition to his popularity and the art that he creates as an artist, he's also been very smart about the team that he's probably built around himself, the brand deals that he's been able to get, the affiliate link opportunities, as well as everything that comes with finding your success through those streaming sites, YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and everything. When you start going into that, nothing enrages me more right now than the idea of these successful fake AI bands on these streaming sites. So I'm not going to do that because we're having a nice time right now.
Unfortunately, you speak of time, and our time is running out. So you talk about all this, but I would say save your money. And when the vinyl of your very first solo CD or album comes out, people should go out and get that as we celebrate one of our homegrown local artists who we are so thrilled with your upcoming success and all the success you've had to this point. Please come back anytime and chat with us.
Thank you. Love to.
Love you, Kam.
Thank
Kam
you. Love y'all. Thanks for having me.
Franklin. Coming up, we're going to talk to the owner of a world-class meats. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
Federal funding for public media has been cut. In response, we're creating Houston Public Media's Resiliency Fund. Donations made toward the fund will directly counter the loss of the $2.2 million in federal funds that were cut annually and strengthen our station's foundation to provide our services into the future. Contributing to this fund is easy and quick and makes all the difference to our station. Help build the Resiliency Fund now at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
On the next Fresh Air, Charlie Crockett brings his guitar and we hear a mix of his country music, rhythm and blues, cowboy songs, and outlaw ballads. He got his start performing on the streets of New Orleans and in the New York City subway, and has since played the Ryman and the Hollywood Bowl, won an Americana Music Award, and been nominated for a Grammy. Join us.
You can listen to Fresh Air coming up tonight. It's on at 8 p.m.
Houston Matters wants to hear from you about story or guest ideas for future programs, or pet care or gardening questions you'd like us to tackle when those subjects come up each month on the show. Or maybe you have suggestions for how we can improve the program and provide a better public service. Reach out anytime at talk@houstonmatters.org. I'm Craig Cohen. Join us for the next Houston Matters, weekday mornings at 9 here on News 88.7.
Support comes from the German Saturday School of Houston, providing instruction for children and adults at Bel Air United Methodist. Registration is open for the upcoming school year, beginning August 23rd. More at 713-569-0801. Support comes from the Eternal Gandhi Museum Houston, highlighting the power of nonviolent conflict resolution through examples of peace leaders worldwide. Now open. Field trips and group visits available. More at egmh.org.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's Celestia Sherman and Ernie Manous.
World Class Meats is a Houston-based premier distributor specializing in exotic meats and wild game, including bison, kangaroo that we talked about earlier, ostrich, and much more. Founded by Houston native Lincoln Obie, the company channels his passions for global cuisines and diverse cultures within the ultimate goal of creating exceptional culinary experiences. And joining us now to tell us more about World Class Meats is President and founder Lincoln Obie. Obie, Lincoln, welcome to Hello Houston. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
And if you have a question or comment and you want to give us a call, 713-440-8870.
I guess where I would want to start with this conversation, Celeste and I were talking about this earlier, is we have a very limited view of what we consume when it comes to meat products. But when you look globally, it's a lot different. And the world is made of many different tastes, many different products being served. And you're kind of bringing the world to us through this.
Definitely. That's kind of my purpose, is to bring exposure and create a platform for people to be able to not just try different meats, but learn how to cook it themselves.
Interesting. And we already got a text. Goat meat is a common item on a lot of plates around here. Curry goat is delicious from Indian and Caribbean cuisines.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of the exotic meats? I know we talked about kangaroo. We're hearing about goat meat. What are some of the more exotic animals that you all have?
Yeah. Like you said, kangaroo is one of the more exotics. Ostrich.
I've had an ostrich.
I love ostrich. That's one of my favorite meats.
Is it very gamey? What does it taste like?
It all depends. Like most meats, it all depends on how it's prepared. The gaminess is all prepared, and on how it's laid to rest, I guess, for lack of better terms.
Thank you. Very gently put. It makes you feel better about. Now you have something sitting in the chair next to you, and it's not another person. What is in that chair?
What's in the bag?
This is my beautiful bag from World Class Meats, and I decided to bring some meats to show. So
okay,
I have some ostrich fillet, which we just talked about.
Fillet. Okay.
Muscovy duck. Muscovy duck.
So what is a Muscovy duck?
So Muscovy duck. If you've been to the zoo, you know those ducks that have like the red beads? Looks like they have like a red mask around their eyes. Those are Muscovy duck.
And how do they taste different than just duck in
They're
general?
fleshier. They're thicker meat than most ducks. So like when you go to like the Chinese restaurants or any restaurant, a lot of times they'll do like Muscovy duck or stuff like that. But I mean, not Muscovy, mallard duck or something like that. But Muscovy tends to be a thicker and juicier piece of meat. I love it.
Now, Lincoln, how did you get into this space?
That's a good question. So I'm a respiratory therapist and did 20 years military. So COVID came and I was just exhausted. You know, I was working in the ER and the ICU as a respiratory therapist. So I got to the point to where, you know, I just wanted to do something different. I didn't really have a plan. And I'm one of those people that jump off the cliff and see if the parachute works after. So I left medicine temporarily, at least. But for that time, I was intending on being gone. And I started working on being the best investor in the world, which didn't work out too well. I was paying into an investment group when I just wasn't making enough money. So I contacted the head of the group and was telling him that I can't afford to be in the group anymore. Yeah. And he was like, well, why don't you sell Wagyu beef? And I said, okay. And so I bought a case, and then I decided to venture out some more. I wanted to increase my product line. Met a guy, Chef RJ, that sold duck. From him, he introduced me to a distributor that sells the kangaroo and the ostrich and all the other meats.
So when people hear of these kind of meats, I'm thinking price point kind of high for this, or is it reasonably priced for some of it?
Well, so
without going into exact
that's a really good question, because that's what most people get stuck on, the price point. And of course, in comparison to grocery store prices, it's going to be pretty high. But you know with anything, value is only dependent on quality, right? That's why some people will see like a Mercedes and be like, oh, that's affordable because the quality is so high. So with my meats, I only source from responsibly raised farms that, you know, are humane with the way they raise their animals and really take care and take mind to what's going into the body.
Yeah.
So it's a higher quality, much higher quality meat with an incredible flavor.
And I would also imagine some of that cost that is incurred is because these meats are coming from other countries.
100%.
Can you talk to us a little bit about where those countries, where these animals are procured from?
Definitely. So my meats come from all over the world. My Wagyu comes from Japan, Australia, Washington State, and I just met a distributor here in Texas that does full-blooded Wagyu. So I'll be Japanese Wagyu, raised here in Texas.
And when you say Wagyu, what exactly do you mean? Maybe people just automatically think you know what you mean.
That is fair. That's fair. So Wagyu breaks down to Japanese cow, literally Wag, Japanese, U, cow. So it's the genetics, these cows that are originally from China, but were raised in Japan, and there was a certain technique that they add to it to include feeding them beer, giving them massages, and a very highly specialized diet that allows them to have that unique marbling, that incredible umami flavor, and just like this unmatched.
I'm curious, do you ever get caught at the Kroger or the grocery store with a tube of that ground beef and you're kind of hiding it so people don't see you buying that meat?
I'm not going to talk bad on Kroger.
I don't mean, I mean grocery stores in general.
No, what's interesting is like, and I don't know why, but my body just started shifting once I started buying my meats. So beef, like I really struggle with beef now, especially like store-bought beef because of the hormones and antibiotics. So I don't sneak out with the meat.
You're not sitting there eating a Big Mac in your car in the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So you were beginning to talk about some of the countries that these meats come from.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So a lot of meat comes from Canada. A lot of different meats come from Australia, New Zealand, Japan, of course. Here in the United States, Colorado, Texas. So it's just really different meats that come from different areas of the world.
So quick question. I just saw somebody ask, and they want to know, is lion meat? Can people consume lion? Is that meat?
I know some people do mountain lion here. In fact, I think there's a couple of stores that do sell mountain lion. I stay away from animals that are rare or were rare or symbolic to me. My initials are lion, so I kind of
that's where you draw the line.
Like cannibalism a little bit.
Yes, for sure. Lincoln Obie is the president of World Class Meats. Lincoln, thank you for joining us today on Hello Houston. Real quick, what's your favorite?
Right now it's ostrich, and I've been stuck on camel. I had some camel burgers I took to work last night.
Camel burgers.
So delicious.
Oh my, that was what was in my lunch today.
You know?
Yep. A lean cuisine.
Right.
And that brings us to the end of our show. We want to thank you for listening to Hello Houston. We will be back tomorrow with more conversations. This is News 88.7.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menhivod, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from John Moore, helping with plumbing, electrical, and air conditioning repairs, including out-of-warranty units since 1965. Details at 730-2525 or at johnmooreservices.com.
We're looking for a high today of 97. It's 93, and this is your NPR station, KUHF.